right. Well, thanks everyone for watching our Q3 client webinar. This one's titled "What's Your IRA Really Worth?" The topic really behind this is taxation in retirement and tax planning around it. There's a lot of people that just kind of aimlessly save for retirement, which will get you a result and can be a good situation. But we want to really see intentionality about how we're saving for retirement, and then also tax strategies around it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, as note advisors, we have our core values: intimacy, action, development. These are always present, and we try to keep them relevant in everyday life. And so for our team today, we have myself, Mario, Shawn, Angela, and Colten. So Colten's going to kick it off with types of retirement accounts, and then we're going to move into the strategies around tax planning and retirement, some pitfalls to avoid, and then Shawn will wrap it up with when to seek a professional, when to come to us, or if there's another professional in your life. So Colten, if you don't mind, get us started on types of retirement accounts.
We're going to focus on four main types of retirement accounts. We're going to start with traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now, these are going to be individual retirement accounts, which means they are funded by you and not your employer. Now, the traditional IRA is going to be funded with pre-tax dollars, and the Roth IRA is going to be funded with after-tax dollars. Difference is the traditional IRA is going to grow tax deferred, and in retirement, you're going to have to pay X's at your income level or your income tax bracket at that time. Roth IRA is going to grow tax-free, and then in retirement, those withdrawals will be tax-free to you. And the difference is, one, you're going to be paying income tax on the Roth IRA now at your current level, and then in retirement, it doesn't matter what your tax bracket is. For the traditional IRA, you're gambling with what your income tax bracket is going to be at that time. We're going to move on to pre-tax 401ks and 403bs. Now, these are going to be funded by yourself through an employer-sponsored plan. Now, you're going to choose a contribution percentage of your pay that's going to go into the account, and it's going to grow tax deferred over time, traditional or similar to a traditional IRA. And then in retirement, you're going to pay income tax again at that time. Roth 401k and 403b is going to operate similar to a Roth IRA. You're going to pay the income tax now, and then in retirement, those withdrawals are going to be tax-free as well. The contribution limits for the 401ks and 403bs are going to be much higher than traditional IRA or Roth IRA, with maximums of $22,500. And if you're over the age of 50, you can contribute an extra $7,500 to a total of $30,000. Now, there are certain circumstances where you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k or 403b. And if you have questions on that, feel free to come speak to us at any time. Again, the pros and cons of using one or the other, it's situation specific, and it's technically always a gamble because we have no idea what taxes are going to be in the future. But pros of doing traditional IRA is going to grow pre-tax dollars, and you're going to see potentially a larger balance. And then it's not guaranteed, but you're generally going to see more dollars flowing into those accounts. And then when you hit retirement, you are going to have to pay those dollars back in a way into income tax. With the Roth IRA or 401k or 403b, you're going to spend a little more upfront by paying the income tax, but depending on your situation and knowing where tax rates are going to go, it could work out in the future because you may be in a higher tax bracket or taxes may be higher in general, and then you get to skip those. And we're going to move on to Angela.
So what we're going to talk about is retirement tax planning strategies. So Colten kind of already alluded to some of the employer sponsored retirement accounts. Those come in the form of 401ks, 403bs. It can be a simple plan, or it could be a solo 401k. So there's a variety of different types of strategies that you can use out there. If possible, right, your best solution is to try to max out your 401k if you can do so. Colten already spoke to some of the contribution limits. If you're over the age of 50, right, $30,000 into a retirement account can be a really nice solution. Also, if you're somebody that can't max out, at least try to, if you can, contribute up to your employer's match, right? Your match can be found in a plan document. Sometimes it's given to you when you're first hired at a new employer. A lot of times you can just log on to your company's 401k website and you can have access to all plan documents there. If you really don't know, feel free to reach out to your HR professional or to an advisor or somebody that helps administer the retirement plan. To Colten's previous comment, it is important to what fits into your budget. So if you are somebody that is not used to saving for retirement, sometimes using your pre-tax option gets you into the habit of saving. A lot of times your plan will let you do both traditional and Roth 401k. Nobody knows what tax rates are going to be. Nobody knows what your personal financial situation is in the future. So really doing what works best for you to start to retire and to build that retirement account is really individual. So it's important to sit down with somebody if you can to really make a good decision for yourself, your household, and for your budget. The next option that's out there is an IRA. A lot of people don't even know what that means, right? So that's an individual retirement account. So if you're maybe somebody that you work on a contract basis, or you're not, you do some side work, or maybe your employer just doesn't offer a retirement plan, you can certainly start to contribute to your own IRA. IRAs can be opened up a variety of different places, certainly online. You can do it with a trusted advisor, such as a financial advisor, or a lot of times some banking institutions open them as well. So that is certainly something that you can do to start to get yourself a retirement account. Additionally, that can be a Roth. So if you want to do that traditional or that pre-tax option, that's available to you. You can also do that in a Roth scenario. If you have a spouse who doesn't work, some couples will do a spousal IRA. So there's a few different options on there to start to save for your household in general. So those are a really good strategy. If you can do it, it can really work in a tax favorable basis for you as well. If you have the opportunity to meet with a planner, to sit down with somebody, you can start to put these accounts into a plan to see where it would help with your tax situation. Remember, everybody's different. And until we can see some of your taxes, right, it's really imperative to start to look at all things together. So it's not a cookie cutter recipe for everybody, but certainly there's some really good strategies that can be utilized. Roth conversions is something that you hear about. They're popular, particularly in employer-sponsored plans. So again, that's where it's important to sit through those benefit meetings, or if an advisor comes to your office, to sit down and say, hey, I really like to use that pre-tax money that I've been putting into this account for 20 years. I'd like to use that in some Roth portion. Can I start to transition some of those traditional dollars to Roth? That's called an in-plan Roth conversion. It does result in some taxes being paid, but again, that is a nice alternative to different solutions that are out there. And it can be done within your retirement plan, so you're not asking to take that money out of the plan. Similarly, that can be done with traditional IRAs, also called you can do it as a conversion. So again, that's where talking to a tax professional in conjunction with a CPA, a CFP, and to really work together to make sure that you're doing a good solution for your household.
Awesome. Thanks, Angela. And so now talking about pitfalls to avoid. So there's lots of strategies to implement. But there's also a lot of things to be concerned about and to make sure they're implemented correctly. First and foremost, really is just intentionality, and the main pitfall is not paying attention to tax. That's kind of where the whole title came from. What's your IRA really worth? An individual might just, throw money in a pre-tax retirement account and think that it's this maybe 7-figure balance, and it's not actually worth that, mainly because the tax. The IRS is not so patiently waiting to tax anywhere from 0 to 50% of that IRA balance, depending on your situation. So just being intentional and paying attention to it is going to set you worlds ahead. Another stuff you'll hear kind of topics, tax torpedoes. So this is a increase in tax rate, a spike in tax rate if you stop in the wrong spot. So this can be caused from just increasing or implementing a strategy that increases your marginal tax bracket as well as your capital gains bracket, which could lead into the net investment income tax, or even Medicare premiums that increase. All these strategies are they can be simple in nature, but they have some complex consequences to them if they're not done properly. And then again, goes back to intentionality. Paying tax now, just because we increase your income tax or capital gains, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We want to look at over your lifetime and reducing total lifetime tax paid. So 1 year you might pay more, and as long as we're intentional about that can be a good thing. And other years it might be less. So just all things to keep in mind. Again, avoiding complexity, right? The tax planning doesn't need to be some intentionally defective grantor trust in some other state that you don't even reside in. There's lots of articles like that. People just want to get clicks. I like the saying, small hinges swing big doors. Just being intentional about your contribution types, all the accounts that Colten mentioned, just being intentional, like I'm going to pay tax now, and contribute to a Roth and let that grow tax free. That's tax planning, and that's a often glossed over for these bigger, sexier strategies. So just trying to avoid complexity at first, right? Unless it's needed. And lastly, incorrect reporting and penalties. This is kind of comes full circle, right? If you implement a strategy and don't report it correctly, you could potentially pay tax twice on those dollars. Things like backdoor Roth contributions, if those aren't reported correctly, you'll end up paying tax twice on it. Again, it's not a complex strategy, but the reporting of it is just nuanced. So unless you've done your research, it's important to work with a financial planner or tax professional. And this is the kind of saying that I live by, and I think this is a great thing to go. We want to pay the IRS every dollar we owe. We're not trying to cheat out of anything, but we just don't want to leave them a tip. And having penalties, whether that being from misreporting tax strategy, or even just not paying attention to estimated payments from strategies and having a underpayment penalty. If we can avoid penalties, that's what we want to do. And yeah, it just comes down to intentionality. And moving on to Shawn for when to seek the help of a professional.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. I think certainly as we look at when to seek advice, right? A lot of the stuff you can do on your own. There's some great software out there. The software has really made it easy. I think if you've got a change in your situation or something you've not seen before, right? If you've been doing your taxes for years and it's kind of status quo, fine. But if you've, inherited some money, or you bought and sold a second home, or something, or an investment you had, you had to liquidate, and there's some additional complexity, and you feel like you maybe need an opinion of somebody else to make sure you're just not missing anything, right? You got to be careful. You only know what you know, right? So that would be a good time to do that. And I think, going back to like what Colten was talking about, and even Angela too, right? And how we're saving, right? There's no perfect answer there. Saving something is better than nothing, whether that's Roth or traditional, right? And I think understanding the impact of that over a lifetime, right? So the younger you are, great. And I've sat with plenty of 65 and 70-year-olds who have significant balances in a pre-tax account. And they almost forget about the fact that they now have to pay tax on that money. They're not thinking their younger selves and okay paying the tax today because they got that tax deduction back in their 30s and 40s. But that's why a plan helps you think through that, right? Because maybe at the time with what they were dealing with, that really made sense. But with taxes, it's not about elimination. That is part of it, but somebody's going to pay the tax, whether that's now or into the future or the next generation, right? And you really want to find someone who really knows the tax law, the different strategies. There's a lot of things out there that people profess that they have tax planning or tax expertise. And this kind of jumps down to that fourth bullet of who not to go to. None of this is solved with a product, right? There's no financial product out there that's going to solve all your tax issues, right? There's the element of looking at it from what does real planning, right? So someone who does real tax planning is you look at both sides of it. You look at the implication or what I call the ripple effect, right? The decision we're going to make today, what impacts does that have in the current year, 2023 or 2024? But planning is more what ripple effects does it have 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road? And there's no right or wrong answer there. But a tax planner should help you think through that, the pros and cons of, all right, if I pay a little extra tax today, I'll save it in the future. Or on the flip side of that, I'll pay a little bit less tax today, but know that I'm going to pay it down the road. And that's okay too. So you want to be able to ask those questions to the professionals you're working with to get a sense of, are they just looking to solve my problem today? And is that just a Band-Aid for a much larger issue that could potentially come up over time? The other big thing I see in practice, and a lot of clients who come to us is that bullet of where you just don't have the desire anymore to do it. I see that a lot. People are, kind of working. They're more in tune with it as they're accumulating wealth and they're saving for retirement and they're kind of doing it on their own. But I can't tell you the number of people come in and say, you know what? I just want to play with my grandkids, or I just want to go play around a golf, or I just want to travel with my spouse. And no longer have to worry about how does Secure Act 2.0 impact my distributions in retirement, or is my R&D age now 73, 75? And that's okay too. You get to a point where you either partially or fully hand that off to a professional, and that's okay. We see that all the time. People will come to us who've done a really nice job saving, and now they just want to focus on other things, and they don't have the desire to be up on some of these constant and dynamic changes that are coming at us each and every year as Congress and the IRS decide to change things. So,
awesome. Yeah, and so if you followed along with our promo skit, Colten and I filmed, the premise was basically I started at an employer and was going to open a retirement account and just put money into it without any thought. And then Colten was going to give me the rundown and from what I learned here, my character in the skit, it's okay to pay tax now, right? He's going to pay the devil he knows to have tax-free growth. So I think in the skit we're going to choose Roth, and that's not everyone's situation, and you just have to know what you're okay with paying and being intentional about it. So I'll be intentional with contributing Roth dollars, and come talk to us with any questions or concerns you have about your tax planning and tax future in retirement. Thanks.